and I'm interviewing Paul Metcalf, former Lifeboats crew member and operation manager for Eastbourne Lifeboats RNLI. It's the 29th of November 2017 and we're at Causeway School for the Secret Catch project.
Good afternoon, Amy. Thank you very much for asking me to come along this afternoon for the interview. It's a great pleasure to be here at Causeway School. Thank you.
Can you tell us about the Duke of Kent?
The Duke of Kent. Wow, yes, I can tell you about that. You've been down to see the Duke of Kent at the beach, haven't you? It came back 2 weeks ago, and I was there when it came back. But Eastbourne's lifeboat, the Duke of Kent, was here from 1979 right through till 1993. And not too far away from where you've seen it, that was where it was kept, in that large lifeboat station, and it was launched down on a slipway, but maybe I could tell you more of that a little bit later on. She was an 8-knot lifeboat. In other words, she went at about 10 miles per hour on the sea. She was quite slow in terms of what modern lifeboats are, which can achieve about 25 knots, or pretty well 30 miles an hour on the sea. But she was a lovely boat. She was built of a wood called Roco, like a mahogany, on oak beams. Absolutely fantastic boat for its day. It was what one would call in its time a modern lifeboat, although it still had what we termed as a double end day. It had two ends, the front and the back, the bow and the stern, that looked pretty much identical. And that was all for it to be self-righting, lifeboat. So if it did go over in very rough seas, the idea was that it came up right in not too many seconds. She was a lovely boat. She was slow, but she had great stability in terms of she was pretty good on the sea. A lot of people used to think she rolled a lot, but to be honest, as a crew member, I found her quite a comfortable boat to ride on, and not only enjoyed myself while I was out there, but obviously to see some of the conditions that she would go out in was fantastic.
Do you miss working on lifeboats?
Well, I haven't been a crew member for many years. I was a crew member for 15 years between 1980 approximately and 1995, so it's a long time since I've been as a crew member, but yes, as a lifeboat operations manager and a deputy launching authority, I thoroughly enjoyed my time with Eastbourne lifeboats, and yes, I've got to be honest to say, I miss some of it, I don't miss all of it. What I don't miss is having to be woken up in the middle of the night in the freezing cold or gale force winds and having to go to the lifeboat station ready to go out on the boat. There's no great fun in that. There's an experience, but that's something as you get older you sort of say, well, we leave it to the young lads and to the young lasses that can do that. So I do miss the camaraderie of the crew. I miss some of the younger men that are now training to be lifeboatmen, and I do miss that side of things. But as my wife says, I'm able to spend a little bit more time with her than I used to be able to. Just to carry a pager, which is a device that you carry in your pocket that alerts you when a lifeboat is required, and my wife thinks that's wonderful that I don't have to wear a pager anymore, and it doesn't go off in the middle of the night, and it doesn't go off when we're having a dinner party, or it doesn't go off when we're out shopping.
How much does it cost to run the lifeboat?
Oh, wow, what a question. I think it's nearly £200 million per year to run the RNLI, and that's with the 237 lifeboat stations around the country. And it takes all that money, has to be raised by donations and fundraising. So it is a very expensive organisation, but what a wonderful organisation it is. Mostly volunteers. I explained to the young lady just now when we were talking, it's nearly all volunteers that do it because of passion for the sea and for the community and to help other people.
Who announced the first lifeboats?
Well, in the early days, in general it was boatmen or fishermen, and I think in doing some studies with other people to look at some of the earlier lifeboat crew members. Right at the very beginning, in 1822 in Eastbourne, most of the crew were in fact coast guards or coastal blockade members, as they were known at the time. And they would launch the lifeboat and they would row out in rough seas. And it wasn't until later on, perhaps till about 1833, when many of them were fishermen and they became part of the crew as fishermen and as boatmen. And as in Eastbourne particularly, where you had pleasure boats, you had a lot of fishermen, there were very experienced men that could man the lifeboat.
How many people did you say were
That's a question that's often asked. During my period of time as a lifeboat crew member, I think my lifeboat service certificate, which is what you get when you finish, it's credited with saving 197 lives during the time that I was a crew member. That's quite a lot.
When will remember that?
That's a good question, and it's a question that I'm often asked in interviews and in presentations. It wasn't a case of when were women allowed to join lifeboats. It's more of a question, when did women want to join the lifeboats? And certainly on some stations there have been female crew members, ladies, women that have joined lifeboats in the last 30 or 40 years. You've seen more and more. I think altogether we've got about 600 ladies on lifeboats around the UK and Ireland in this present day. But it was mainly the ladies that would be responsible for raising monies and fundraising. And on some stations, and particularly one not too far away, Dungeness, the ladies would help launch the lifeboat many, many years ago. And quite famous ladies, quite well-known ladies, were the wives of the crew members, and they would help to launch a lifeboat and help to recover the lifeboat, bring it back in after it had returned from a service call. But certainly in the last, let's say, 30, 40 years, more and more women have joined the service. There are some now that are in positions of deputy coxswains, second coxswains, helmsman, and I have to use the word helmsman because I don't think there is such a thing as a helmswoman, they're called helmsmen, that are in charge of the inshore lifeboats, and the lifeboats can be manned by women. Eastbourne, yes, it has had female crew members. I can't honestly say I'm aware of one at the moment, but not that many years ago there were crew members here.
Was the lifeboat station always on the beach by the fishing station?
Ah, very interesting. It's always obviously been close to the beach to get the lifeboat away, but certainly it wasn't always where it is now. The lifeboat stations, there are two in Eastbourne. One that you saw when you went to see the old Duke of Kent lifeboat, and next to it you saw the big shed there, that's the old lifeboat station, which houses the inshore lifeboat at the present time. And the all-weather lifeboat, the big boat, powerful Tamar lifeboat, is kept in the harbour on an afloat mooring. It's kept afloat. But if you know Eastbourne well, if you got to the other end of Eastbourne to the Wish Tower area, there's an old lifeboat station there, and that's where lifeboats were kept up till the 1930s. Then lifeboats moved to the fishing station, which you went to visit recently. There was an old lifeboat station in Marine Road, which you'd hardly recognise it nowadays, but it is still there. You would hardly recognise it as a lifeboat station. And before that, I believe the very first lifeboat station, or the first shed, and I think it was more of a shed than a station, was not far from the Redoubt.
When did you first join the lifeboats?
I first joined in 1980, when I was a very young man, 34, but don't tell everybody. I was quite young. I wanted to join before that, but to be honest, I had a job that demanded most of my time. And I had to go to college, training, and I went to work in London, and that took most of my time until when I was about 34, I started to find that my family was starting to grow up, and it was therefore time for me to start to put back into life and put back into the community, what I'd enjoyed. I'd always enjoyed being on the sea, I'd always enjoyed water, going fishing, going angling, going on the beaches. That has always been a big part of my life. Being that I'm a Piscean, I was born in March, I have to be near the sea, and joining the lifeboat crew, I became very proud, very passionate about the lifeboat service.
What was your most memorable rescue?
Yeah, that's a good question. There's lots of them there that I take as memorable. There were probably a couple that memorable in terms of, I haven't forgotten the rough sea. One was to a yacht, a Swedish yacht called the Bianca D, who lost its mast and lost a lot of its rigging in a very rough sea. It was a force 10 southerly gale force wind, and I always thought that was quite memorable because we went out and towed four people on board, 3 gents and a lady, and we towed that boat all the way to Dungeness, where we then handed it over to another lifeboat that came out from Dover to meet us, because that's the only port that was accessible in such rough conditions. And the next one I remember, which was around about 1994, I think, when the motor vessel Tern was sinking off of the coast, about 10 miles out, again in very rough conditions, and we went out there and stood by. We didn't actually take anybody up, but we stood by for some 10 hours until all the crew had been saved and the boat had been saved. They're 2 rescues that really stick in my mind as a crew member, and there have been others, but I would say probably 2 of the most memorable, mainly because of the conditions that we were out in. And you think to yourself, what am I doing out here in these conditions? But that's why you do it.
What's the main things that compelled you to join the lifeboats?
My love of the sea. I've always loved being close to water, as I just say. I like to be out. I love boats. I had thoughts of joining services like the Navy and the Merchant Navy as a young man, but decisions came along that I made that prevented me from doing that, and therefore I wanted to do something with the water and with the sea, with a boat, so I joined the lifeboat service when I was about 34, 1980.
Are all of the lifeboat crew voluntary?
Most are. Pretty well all of the crew are voluntary, with the exception perhaps of a coxswain mechanic, or a mechanic. There are 3 ranks of crew members. Some stations have a coxswain and a mechanic who are full-time. Some have a coxswain mechanic and some just have a mechanic. And they are employed full-time to do the role that they have to do, whether it be looking after the boat, whether it be looking after the mechanics of the boat. It's a full-time job. It's what I call a 24/7 job. Yes, they do get holidays, they do get weekends off, they do get time off, but it's in fact a very highly committed role.
Can you tell me more about some of the rescues that took place off Eastbourne?
Can I tell you? Well, the first rescue, I think I mentioned it in our talks a couple of weeks ago, was 1822, and that was a vessel called the Thames. You remember I told you about it, a Dutch East Indiaman that ran aground, blown ashore in storms, and men went to rescue the crew, and unfortunately they drowned themselves with helping. Their boat turned over, and sadly that was the sort of first time that it was thought that we should have a lifeboat here in Eastbourne, and that came along towards the end of 1822, and the lifeboat has been here ever since. But other rescues, wow, we could go on for quite a long time. Men have been rescued from the lighthouse, from the lightship that used to be off of Eastbourne, and there have been lots of yachts, and in more recent years, more and more pleasure vessel boats that are out there for fun. They're out there sailing, they're out there fishing, they're out there having a great time, have run into problems. And Eastbourne now, this year already, I believe the 2 lifeboats in Eastbourne have launched on 120 occasions to rescue people. It's a very busy lifeboat station. One of the busiest in the country.
Were any of the lifeboats involved in the war?
Ah, very interesting question. Yes, indeed. There was a lifeboat here in Eastbourne called the Jane Holland, and she was asked to go to Dunkirk. Now, if you know a little bit about the history of the war, you'll know about Dunkirk. And the Jane Holland was used to help rescue soldiers from the beaches of Dunkirk, but sadly got into some trouble. It was machine gunned. Some say it was machine gunned by enemy action, some say it wasn't. It was done by British action, it was a mistake. But they got very badly damaged and was found floating in the middle of the channel. But yes, lifeboats have gone to war, but usually in a rescue capacity. Eastbourne lifeboats during the war went out and rescued downed airmen that had crashed into the sea, and picked them up and brought them ashore, quite a few. And if you look on the boards, the service boards in the lifeboat station, you'll actually see quite a number of rescues through the war. One of my famous talks is always about the SS Barnhill, which was a steamship that was bombed off of Beachy Head in March of 1940, and Eastbourne lifeboats went to rescue the crew from that sinking ship. The ship didn't sink entirely, it came ashore at Laney Point, and there's still part of the wreckage there that you can see of the SS Barnhill.
How old were you when you stopped working for the lifeboat?
We have to stop at the age of 70, and you look at me and you think, he can't be 70, he must be at least 80. But no, in fact, I had to finish at 70. It's the rule. I knew the rule was there. When you reach the age of 70, you have to, and they use the word stand down. You don't retire, you stand down, but you finish with lifeboats at that age. Some crewmen have to finish at 65, others short crew, 65, depending on your health and your eyesight. Eyesight's quite important. But as a lifeboat operations manager, I had to finish at 70, which was just over a year ago, about 18 months ago, in the March. And I can still fundraise for the lifeboats, and I still do. I try to help them raise monies from various sources, and I like to have that little involvement still with Eastbourne Lifeboat. Thank you. Thank you very much indeed, Amy. That was lovely. Well done. Okay.
How do I stop it?
Was that okay?